Be completely honest with me for a second here. Have you ever felt this massive, overwhelming wave of relief when your weekend plans got canceled? Like, you were actually excited, maybe even thrilled to have absolutely nothing to do and literally no one to talk to. Look, we've all been there, doing that little happy dance in our sweatpants in the living room. It's a very specific kind of joy, isn't it?
Now, society loves to look at that tendency and immediately slap a negative label on it. They'll call you antisocial or maybe a hermit. But you know what? The psychological reality is entirely different. You aren't broken. You are simply operating on a completely different frequency.
Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're not just skimming the surface of human behavior. We are going to decode the mind. We're unpacking the hidden psychology of solitude to show you exactly why these supposedly lonely habits are actually the ultimate markers of a highly functioning, deeply aware brain.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the solitude myth.
For the longest time, the dominant narrative out there has been that if you prefer your own company, well, there must be something wrong with you, right? People say you need to get out more or that you're isolating yourself. But psychology completely flips the script on this whole hermit myth. A love for solitude isn't a sign that you're broken. Not at all. It is a marker of a deeply aware brain. The research actually shows that craving your own company is a major sign of high cognitive functioning. It means your inner world is incredibly rich, and we're going to explore exactly how that works.
Moving right along to Section 2, the hyperconnected brain.
Let's look at the actual neurology for a second. Have you ever heard of hyperconnectivity? It basically means your brain is wired in such a way that one single thought naturally sparks 10 others. It's like a chain reaction. You think about pouring a cup of coffee, and suddenly you're pondering the entire history of global agriculture. Studies show that highly intelligent people often prefer being alone because constant socializing actually interrupts this incredible internal flow. When your brain is hyperconnected like this, you literally need silence. You need that quiet runway to see the full picture without constant distractions. You aren't avoiding people, you're just entering a deeper thinking state. And this brilliantly illustrates our next biological reality: high social sensitivity. Your brain is a sponge, picking up on absolutely everything. The subtle shift in a friend's tone of voice, a micro-expression someone quickly hit, or even just the hum of the air conditioner in the background. Your nervous system is processing all of it, simultaneously, with extreme clarity. Because of that extreme sensitivity, we arrive at this totally understandable reality. While crowds might energize some folks, if you have high social sensitivity, your cognitive bandwidth is being drained at double the speed. Double. You don't necessarily dislike people, but your brain is working in absolute overdrive just to process all that environmental noise. So, of course, it requires more recovery time to reset your emotional baseline after a busy day. It's not antisocial behavior, it's just basic biological maintenance.
So, how does this affect our day-to-day behavior? Let's get into Section 3, escaping the dopamine trap.
Let's be real. Most people today are caught in a massive digital dopamine trap. They're constantly hunting for likes, followers, or just some external validation from the crowd to feel like they matter. But if you truly love being alone, you likely run on a completely different engine: internal validation. Your self-worth is totally non-negotiable. It comes from within, rather than being dictated by whatever an audience thinks of you today. And the really crucial takeaway here is that you are valuing depth over display and authenticity over approval. Choosing solitude means you've effectively outgrown that endless digital dopamine loop. You just don't buy into the exhausting idea that you have to be seen by the masses to have value. You already know your worth, so you prioritize genuine, authentic depth over putting on a show for everybody else. Now let's peel back another layer. Section 4, survival independence. For some of us, this deep love for solitude actually has a profound psychological root. Our early childhood experiences truly shape how our brain wires itself. Think about things like being ignored as a kid or being forced into parentification, where you suddenly had to handle heavy adult responsibilities way before you were ready. When you experience a lack of consistent support growing up, you learn very early on that external help just might not arrive. Actually, scratch that. It's more like your brain simply adapts to survive. You just stop expecting anyone else to show up. And that leads directly to finding comfort within your own mind, simply because it was the only reliable place you had. This creates what psychologists call survival independence. As an adult, you might look incredibly capable, strong, and composed to the outside world, but internally, you retreat to your own company because, growing up, your own mind was the absolute only safe and reliable space you knew.
Which brings us to our fifth and final section, the power of cognitive quiet.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this psychological concept called the incubation effect. This state of cognitive quiet is fundamentally necessary for deep thinkers to build these invisible bridges between totally unconnected ideas. It's like a giant puzzle assembling itself in the background of your mind. When you are alone, your brain enters this specialized state to function at its absolute sharpest. You aren't withdrawing from reality, no way. You are actually processing reality at a level of complex cognition that most people simply never experience.
And that, my friends, is what we call quiet power. It's about protecting your peace in a world that is completely addicted to noise and oversharing. If anything we've talked about today is making your misunderstood struggles finally click into place, this is the core mindset shift you need to make. Loving your own company is about wielding your incredible self-awareness as real-world power. It is an intentional, powerful choice to protect your peace.
Let's just pause for a second and really let this quote sink in. Silence isn't empty, it's full of the answers you've been looking for. I mean, wow, right? What a profound realization. Your solitude isn't some lonely void. It's this rich, dynamic space where your high-functioning brain does its absolute best work. It's where you find your baseline, your hidden creativity, and ultimately, your truth.
So, knowing all this now, knowing that your preference for solitude is actually a massive biological and psychological advantage, how will you use your quiet power? I'm going to leave you to think on that one. Stay smart, stay curious, and as always, keep decoding the mind.